Hello and welcome back to the channel. It's officially the last episode of the Wheel of Time Season 2, and it's bittersweet putting out my last highlights video, but I'm so excited to talk about it. If you've enjoyed these videos, let me know by liking this one and subscribe to the channel. There will be plenty of more Wheel of Time content to come, and you don't want to miss it. First off, I want to say that I'm incredibly impressed with the uptick in quality this season, and I firmly believe that the finale does a lot of justice to the essence of Robert Jordan's characters while also incorporating some bold changes. I really enjoyed how this last episode reinforces our young characters' naivety that is prevalent in the early books. The last image of them standing together on the watchtower really gives you the feeling that their eyes have just been peeled wide open in a way that season one didn't come close to doing. It feels like we just finished the prologue of the story and the best is yet to come, and that's the concept that's really exciting me. The feeling that the story is becoming bigger and more complex, and from up this point, our young heroes are taking a step forward, realizing how much their lives have changed. On top of that, the finale is just fun. It's everything that high fantasy should be, and there's so much happening in this episode. So let's dig in and focus on the many plots. And at the end, I'll talk a little bit more about my overall thoughts. We begin with a cold open of the previous reincarnation of the dragon, Lews Therin, sealing away Ishamael in a metaphysical prison 3,000 years ago in the past. Ishamael is a philosopher and a deep thinker, believing fighting the Dark One is pointless because the wheel will turn and history will repeat itself over and over. Joining the Shadow is the logical choice to end the suffering he associates with the constant looping of time. Lews Therin is his infinite adversary, reborn as Rand al'Thor. This episode also resurrected the title sequence of The Loom, which felt really cinematic. We then move to the Children of the Light. Joffrey Bornhold and his son Dane discuss their plans for taking Falme from the Seanchan. Joffrey wants to exploit a narrative, so let's talk about it for a moment. Many times throughout the history of this world, the Aes Sedai have been called upon to save a nation from ruin, and on multiple occasions the White Tower has stood idly by or failed to respond, resulting in the fall of nations like Manetheren or Lan's homeland, Malkier. Joffrey wants to exploit this. If the Children of the Light can save the city when the Aes Sedai can't, it serves their agenda that these women of Tar Valon are nothing but self-serving, corrupt witches, and the children fight for the light. It's a dangerous game of public relations, but it's a clever tactic. Inside the ways, Lanfear kicks Lan and Moiraine out at a very specific location, telling them to raise the banner when the time comes. She then opens a gateway transporting herself and Rand into Falme. If you've noticed, Lanfear only uses gateways when Moiraine and other channelers from this age aren't around, and there's a reason for this. It's a secret weave that she doesn't want someone to learn. The next scene is an important one. Lanfear and Ishamael have come to an impasse. Ishamael wants Rand to join them, but Lanfear just wants to win Rand's trust and get him back. It's at this point Ishamael knows Lanfear will betray him. As we continue, the Children of the Light stage their attack on Falme, and the next scene focuses on Nynaeve and Elayne and their newly imprisoned former Soldam. As a book reader, I cannot explain how much joy I felt to watch these two actresses together. There's a small moment of tenderness where Elayne looks at Nynaeve's Soldam disguise and fixes her makeup. It's such a simple scene, but it conveys so much because there's a level of shared determinism between these two women, an intimate moment of loyalty, bravery, and sisterhood that makes them two of my favorite characters of this series. It gives off the imagery of war paint before they go into battle, and they're doing it alone, not knowing that any of their friends are coming. We then cut away to Egwene and Rhaena as Rhaena warns her to stay submissive, then cuts off Egwene's braid. This is a huge thing, a symbol of her womanhood and her connection to home and identity. Even in our own history, forced haircutting is a form of serious violence against women using humiliation and degradation. Ishamael then walks the halls with Padan Fain, ready to outmaneuver Lanfear and remove her from the board. His plan is this: force Rand to turn to the dark by threatening his friends, or kill him and wait for the next respinning of their souls to fight again. Padan Fain wants to kill Rand himself, but Ishamael is confident Mat will kill Rand based on Min's viewing. Padan Fain then leaves the dagger with Mat, knowing his previous connection to it will make it impossible for him not to pick up. Cutting back to Nynaeve, she wallops the former Soldom into giving information about where she can find Egwene. Now, this is a bold change from the books. Nynaeve has no dialogue here to express how sickening it feels to control another woman through the item. The show focuses on her aggression, as Elayne seems to be the one disturbed by the threats and violence. I'm not sure how I feel about this change because I love Nynaeve for her sensitivity, but overall it seems the choice was made to express the ruthlessness she feels about rescuing Egwene. Outside of Falme, Moiraine and Lan have a heart-to-heart and reconnect through the warder bond, and this is a really beautiful moment before all hell breaks loose. As chaos descends on the city of Falme, we move to Perrin and his party. Ingtar reveals that a lady from Cairhien helped them recover the Horn of Valir. He's obviously talking about Lanfear's alter ego, Selene. She's working to bring Rand a victory. Loyal reveals that Egwene is captured, but instead of saving her, Ingtar believes the horn is more important, the key to winning the last battle. On the watchtower, the Damani move into place for a strategic assault on the Whitecloaks. Egwene flinches away as the flames injure those innocent in the crossfire, but when she sees the Whitecloaks, the same people who kidnapped and assaulted her in season 1, she has a change of heart. We then move to Lord Turok's point of view, who comes face to face with Rand, who kills everyone, leaving only Turok's voice, who then commits seppuku. Like the books, Rand's skills and channeling often come in unexpected times of need. Back on the streets of Falme, the Maidens of the Spear scout ahead, but the Seanchan army approaches, and Ingtar meets them in battle to give the others a chance to escape with the Horn of Valir. He dies in the process. In the books, this moment happens in the Great Hunt and has a huge emotional impact. Here, it's dealt with swiftly, which is a touch disappointing, but time is of the essence, and this episode races full steam ahead. Back on the beach, Moiraine sees the watchtower, making her realize where she is, and deduces that Lanfear has planned everything, and the next scene adds more context. We then see Bail Doman, the smuggler Moiraine met in episode 1. He addresses Lanfear as Lady Selene, and then revealed that Lanfear is the one who sold him the Heartstone. She has been using Moiraine this whole time, leaving clues to get her where she needs to be. I believe she knows Moiraine wouldn't betray Rand, and despite Lanfear keeping Moiraine at arm's length, she knew Rand needed allies against Ishamael. She's been stringing Moiraine along since the beginning. Lanfear then pays Bail Doman to dump the remaining seals into the ocean. She doesn't want any of the other Forsaken to be pulled out of the boar. She doesn't want competition. We then move inside the fortress, and High Lady Suroth is interrupted by Ishamael. She's been waiting on him and asks where he's been. This is a genius little moment where Ishamael dusts off his hands, saying, "I've had other tasks to attend to," because this clues us in that Ishamael has just busted the remaining Forsaken out of their seals. Suroth then explains that Egwene is on the tower to lure Rand and his companions. She informs Ishamael that Turok is dead and the horn has been stolen. Ishamael's plans are falling apart due to Lanfear. Ishamael then decides as a last resort to use Suroth's Damani to gentle Rand if he doesn't join him. We then move to Mat locked away in the fortress. He dismantles his room, pulling apart items that he fastens together to create an Ashandarai. a wooden rod from his bed's headboard for a polearm, and fabric to secure the ruby hilted dagger to it. I love how resourceful Matt is, and this will become his signature weapon. In the books, he receives it from a group of extra dimensional fox people who grant wishes, and yes, I know how weird that sounds. Just go along with it. This is a big change, and as much as I think this means we won't meet the Eelfin in the show, I'm still holding out hope. Going back to Matt, the thing that's important here is he physically cannot touch the dagger, or else he will become consumed by the darkness within it. So fastening it to a polearm is actually quite ingenious. Anyways, Matt uses the dagger to slice through the metal door because the dagger is magic, successfully outwitting Podon Fane while killing the guards in the process. Another tangent here, but Bookmat actually comes from a long line of quarterstaff champions. I swear I'm not making this up. In the books, his dad can mop the ground with anyone who challenges him. The show is tying this skill to something else, and that is revealed later in the episode. Anyways, Matt escapes yet again. It's almost like his luck is starting to change. On the tower, Egwene sees crying, injured children and refuses to keep attacking. Before Rhaena can cut off her hands to punish her, the Whitecloaks use a trebuchet to kill almost everyone on the tower. But before Nynaeve can get to the tower, her captured Soldom, now Damani, gets shot in the neck by an arrow, and Elayne is struck through the leg. Sadly, Nynaeve cannot grab hold of the one power to heal her. We then learn that Egwene has survived the assault on the tower, and she picks up the collar that falls off the dead Aes Sedai Megan. Perrin and his group then run into Matt. Then we cut back to Egwene, who collars Rhaena because Egwene has figured out that the Saldam are also channelers. They are so weak in the one power that their searchers don't recognize their capabilities. It's how the Saldam are able to see and feel the weaves of their damane. Egwene has turned Rhaena into the very thing she despises. Now, Rhaena and Egwene are in a double bond. Each woman can feel the pain they inflict on the other, and Egwene makes a dangerous choice, hanging Rhaena until she releases the bond on her, all while knowing that if Rhaena dies, she will die too. It's a brutal game of chicken that Egwene ends up winning, and she lets Rhaena hang, making good on her threat from the last episode. Immediately following, Rand finds her. We then move to the streets, and Perrin and Loyal learn that Rand is alive. They need to get the Horn of Alir to him, but the box cannot be opened. Luckily, Matt now has a magic weapon that can cut through any material. Back on the tower, Rand comforts Egwene. He came to save her, but she managed to claw herself out of danger by sheer grit. And I have to take a moment to talk about Egwene. She is one of those characters that you cannot discount. She might not be as powerful as Nynaeve, but she's a quick learner. She figured out how the bond between Damani and Saldom works and used it as a weapon. People who love Egwene love her for her intelligence and determination in reaching her goals no matter the costs, and I believe this episode really showcased it. But the best is yet to come, so we have to continue forward. Before Rand and Egwene can exit the towers, they are stopped by a Shamael who throws them around like ragdolls, and then signals to the ships where the Damani casts out a weave to bind Rand in air and shield him from channeling. Ishamael doesn't want to wait and go into battle with Rand in a next life. He's tired, so he tries a last approach. Get Rand to see what the cost of all this fighting is doing to the people he cares for. We then cut to Matt carving the horn case open with his Ashandarai. Matt will deliver the horn to Rand just as the Whitecloaks join the fray. We get a nice little montage of Perrin and Dane Bornhold fighting back to back against the Seanchan. Then Aemon Valda shows up, recognizes Perrin, and comes to attack him, but Perrin is saved by Hopper. Now, I'm going to be really honest. The moment Hopper was introduced onto the show, I knew what his fate would be. No amount of hardening myself to his death made it any easier. He's just a wolf who wanted to fly, and you guys, I sobbed. I ugly cried. He is one of my favorite animal companions in fantasy, and his story is incredibly important to Perrin. his death is going to change him. And while it broke me in the books, it absolutely destroyed me in the show. Moving on. Perrin picks up his axe and charges Joffrey Bornhold. Good riddance, Joffrey. You will not be missed. I think it's important to note that Aemon Volda is still alive and he already has a vendetta against Perrin. And now he has killed the leader of the Whitecloaks in front of his own son, which is going to make him a wanted man. Moving to Mat on the ramparts, he unexpectedly runs into a line of Seanchan's soldiers, blocking his path to Rand. He's cornered and he does the only thing he can do, blow the horn of Val'yr. Then for a moment, nothing happens. The time Mat tried to do what is right, tried getting the horns for Rand, tried saving the people he cares about, and call down heroes from a metaphysical realm to save them from the danger and chaos around them, nothing happens. And I really enjoyed the slow motion and stoppage of time focusing on each of the main characters here. Perrin as he delivers a fatal blow to Joffrey Bornhold, Nynaeve as she hovers, crying over Elayne, trying to heal her, helpless, unable to channel. Egwene, barely conscious, laying on the ground, and Rand, shielded, unable to move. These little individual shots of each of the young characters as they grapple with all the chaos surrounding them are really fantastic. We then cut back to Mat, and I have to make a quick sidebar here because as the fog surrounds him, this is the moment that every Wheel of Time book nerd has been waiting for. For years, we've been on standby, sitting idly by through a global pandemic, years of prolonged setbacks in filming, through the casting and recasting of Mat Cawthon, hoping, waiting that one day we will actually get to see what this would look like when the heroes of the Horn are ripped out of Tel'aran'rhiod and into the flesh to drive the Seanchan back into the sea. And holy shit, it's finally here. The heroes of the Horn appear. All of them, from thousands of different ages. Arthur Payandrag Hawkwing, Amaterasu, the female dragon who fights with the sword of the sun that glows in her hands, Birgitte Silverbow, heroine of 100 of Gleeman's Tales, the archer who never misses, and Uno, Bloody Nomesta, they are all here. And then Mat screams, in the old tongue, it's time to toss the dice because now, my friends, now finally, after all of the hardship, luck is finally on Mat's side. In the books, Mat isn't a hero of the Horn, but just the Hornblower. The show has made a big change here. Arthur Hawkwing tells Mat that he's fought by his side time and time again. Remember when I said Mat received his Ashendare from Vox people? Well, in the books, he also receives memories from them, but here in the show, when he blows the horn, he says, I remember. So hold on to that line because it's going to be important. It also explains why in the show, Mat seems to pick up quarterstaff fight moves seemingly out of nowhere. He's remembering his past lives as a hero of the Horn. Wow. Now Perrin, Mat, Nynaeve, and Elayne are all en route to the tower to get to Egwene and Rand, and the heroes have carved a path for them. Ishamael gives Rand one last chance. Join him or be gentled. But Rand and all of his past lives, and this one too, has never and will never join the Shadow. Mat arrives and tries to spear Ishamael, but Ishamael was just an illusion, and the ruby-hilted dagger hits Rand. Min's vision finally came true. As Rand lays dying, Ishamael attempts to do something. I'm assuming it's to give the signal for the High Lady Suroth's Damani to gentle Rand, but instead he is hit with a blast. Egwene has dusted herself off and faces down Ishamael alone. Hit after hit from Ishamael, she just digs her heels in harder. From the beach, Moiraine sees the shielding on Rand and decides she's going to stop it. We now get a repeat of the teamwork from Lan and Moiraine on Winter Night from season 1, and it looks incredible. Moiraine is fueled by the fire of saving Rand at all costs, and Lan is finally connected to her via the Warder Bond, which has increased his senses and stamina. He catches arrows in midair and fights off the Seanchan as Moiraine guides flames to the ships. Visually, I'd have to say Moiraine has some of the most elevated and elegant scenes of the show. I love how she has to wind up her focus and really get her channeling going. It's a nice nod to the books where she carries around certain objects to focus, but instead of that, here they have Rosamund use a meditative type period to move her body and really work up her energy. Visually, it's stunning. Rosamund is so graceful, and when you mix it with the cinematography on the beach, the soundtrack, and the CGI of the weaves, you end up with, in my opinion, the most beautiful scene of the season. Moving on, Egwene continues taking blast after blast from Ashamael, and one by one, everyone ends up on the tower. I do have a short observation, but Uno has given Perrin his shield. I have to wonder if it's something he holds on to and if it retains some type of mystical properties, because now Matt has his Ashandarai and Rand has his heron marked sword. Did Perrin just get a weapons upgrade to go along with the axe? Back to the scene, Elayne kneels and heals Rand's wounds while suffering from her own. I really enjoyed how angelic and ethereal she looks. When they first meet in the books, it's under different circumstances, but Rand is a bit smitten with her kind heart and love of fixing broken things. He's healed but shielded. Moiraine is working on that, and this episode keeps getting better and better. Moraine's fires travel underwater and take out the ships in Damani, leaving Rand free to move and channel. His heron-marked sword burns in the fires, and he kills a Shamael, leaving a branded heron on his palm, another part of the prophecy. Ishamael is dead, the Seanchan are retreating, and Moiraine remembers the prophecy and does her part to make them come true, weaving the dragon banner made of fire in the sky, the banner that Lanfear told her to raise. I love it. The Maidens of the Spear look up, realizing they've just found their chief of chiefs, the man they were looking for all along, the Karakarn. And look, the fire dragon, it's a little bit cheesy, but this is high fantasy and it kind of has to be. It hits the right spot for me, an homage to the character and fantasy that Moiraine evolved from, Gandalf. And if the episode ended there, I would have been happy, but in true Wheel of Time fashion, we have to introduce the next new enemy at the end of the finale. And we cut to a very smug looking Lanfear. She thinks she's won. She actually thinks she outsmarted Ishamael. She enters the room with the seals only to see them broken, because Ishamael left her a parting gift. She is greeted by Mogideon, the spider, who leaves Lanfear with a warning. When she strikes, she doesn't miss, and the rest of the Forsaken are loose. Whew. The moment I saw Mogideon, I knew it was her. I love that they incorporated webs into her weaves. She's my favorite of the Forsaken, and the show has made an interesting choice. They have made her more unhinged than Lanfear. I really appreciate this character due to her being such a reclusive entity. Her ability to wriggle her way out of situations based on hypervigilance makes her an excellent adversary and somewhat of an outcast among the other Forsaken. Her introduction also gives me hope that some of my favorite Nynaeve and Elayne storylines will be included next season. And wow, this was a really great episode. It has so much going for it. Lots of action, lots of twists and big reveals, and lots of channeling. The season as a whole has blended a lot of elements together. Sometimes it feels like a soapy period drama, sometimes it borders on science fiction, sometimes we get a little bit of pulp where things are a touch overly sensational. But I think when you break down the book series, these are the same elements that you get. It captures the tone. The episode has some pretty massive book changes, and they are unapologetic. Honestly, what they did change seems to have been done to speed up the characterizations to fit within the 8 episode season. As a whole, I think these changes work. Of course, there are a few things that I didn't love, but there are plenty of changes that I did enjoy. The entire Battle of Falme was much more interesting in the show versus the books. It's spread out and incorporates so much more space. The final battle of season 1 was lackluster, and this felt like some real redemption on behalf of the producers. Another fun aspect was the whole spy versus spy rivalry between Ashamael and Lanfear, with each character trying to outsmart the other, while Lanfear tries to maintain the mask of working with him. The show has made her a much more sympathetic character, in my opinion, and has really steered away from the crazy ex girlfriend trope from the books, which is such a good call. This episode also resolved a plot hole from the previous episode. I found it very odd that Lanfear would allow Lan and Moiraine to journey through the waves with her and not just outright kill them. It turns out Lanfear recognized that Moiraine is really important to Rand's survival and would be the person who she could count on to raise the dragon banner and make the prophecy come true. I'm so happy to see this season end on such a high note. Emotionally, it was a lot for me to take in, with so many moments I was dreading and so many moments that I was looking forward to. I'm also curious to see what moments really resonated with non book readers. Which characters are you hoping for the show to explore more next season? Before I leave you, I just want to touch on one more thing that is a big spoiler for later in the future. So if you don't want to hear about it, I'd click out now. This episode introduced a very big moment of foreshadowing for Egwene. Later in the series, when the Seanchan attack Valon, she will be leading the defense of the city as a warrior on the White Tower. No longer a slave, but as a tactician, guiding the young channelers via her knowledge and adaptability. When this moment comes full circle, it's going to be majestic, and the focus on her captivity on the tower here in this episode is going to be something she works for a long time to overcome. It's setting up a great character arc for her, and I love to see it. That wraps up things for today. Thanks so much for liking and subscribing. I'll be back with more episodes to cover the season as a whole, and I'll see you back then.